Hey guys, welcome to Digit.in, and what we have for you today is our review of Outriders. Now, before we get into the details of Outriders, I must warn you that I'm not a fan of the looter shooter genre. While I have enjoyed a few rounds of Destiny and The Division, these games have never immersed me for one single reason. If you don't have friends to play with, the game isn't fun, and that's generally the case with looter shooter games. To my surprise, Outriders is a looter shooter that's a lot of fun when played alone and immense fun when played with friends. The game has a good balance of combat, difficulty, and some special abilities to spice up the gameplay. Now, starting with the story, developer People Can Fly delivered a great tongue-in-cheek action flick story in Bulletstorm, but that isn't the case here. While there are moments of levity thrown into the mix, the story of Outriders is relatively serious. The Earth is no longer inhabitable and humanity is looking at the planet Enoch to rebuild civilization. As expected, things don't go according to plan. After a brief tutorial, you find yourself in cryosleep for 31 years. After awakening, you realize that not only are the humans fighting amongst themselves for resources, but there is a storm that transforms some people into the Altered, giving them special abilities. Surprise, surprise, you are one of the Altered and must save the day. While it's difficult to take the overarching story seriously, the subplots and side missions intrigued me. Overall, the story does a decent enough job stitching 2 points together where you can progress from point A to point B, but it is a lot of the subplots and side missions that have more than enough to give you a great narrative experience. It's difficult to take the main story quite seriously, but the side missions are a lot of fun. Talking about the gameplay, Outriders is a third-person cover-based shooter, but it encourages you to leave cover from time to time. It is a looter shooter best enjoyed with friends. However, you can enjoy the game alone. The game lets you choose from 4 classes. The Trickster, who can manipulate time and space, the Pyromancer, who can manipulate fire, the Devastator, who unleashes seismic attacks like an earthquake, and the Technomancer, who uses devices like turrets. I have been playing the game using the Pyromancer class. On the DualSense controller, a player can equip 3 abilities at a time, one at each shoulder button and the final by pressing both the shoulder buttons together. While the game offers cover-based shooting, it encourages you to move around the battlefield and use your powers as often as possible. The cooldown for your capabilities is relatively quick and you regenerate health when you use your abilities. There are no health packs to be found. Each level is divided into areas where you take on a horde of enemies, and each area has some strategic vantage points overlooking each cover space. The enemies thrown at you also vary. There are some who will run at you with melee weapons, other heavily armored enemies with shotguns will move slowly towards you, some snipers, and a horde of assault rifle wielding goons that will flank you from all possible angles. Needless to say, the action can get quite frantic. Thanks to the mix of enemies, you cannot stay behind cover for too long, and that's the beauty and fun of Outriders. Shoot a few enemies, retreat to cover, flank an enemy, use some special abilities, move to the next cover spot. The action makes Gears of War feels like child's play. It's this frantic action that will keep you at the edge of your seat and is a lot more fun when playing online with friends. The Pyromancer has many abilities such as setting enemies ablaze, absorbing enemies' health, freezing enemies in place using the Ash ability, a blast that sets close by enemies ablaze, and more. The more you use the special abilities, the more chances you have of surviving an encounter. In addition to the diverse set of enemies, the game also throws some altered enemies at you with the same abilities as you or one of the 4 classes we spoke about earlier, adding a unique twist to the combat. You have a window of opportunity to stop them from making a special attack, and it's the fights with the altered enemies that serves as the heated boss battles in the game. When it comes to the weapons, you can carry 2 weapons with you in addition to a sidearm, and as with any looter shooter, can upgrade the stats of the weapons you collect. You can also add some special buff to the weapons, giving you the ability like momentarily freezing an enemy in place or setting them ablaze, or giving you some shielded protection when using a particular gun. The list is quite long. You can also customize the armor you collect and add these buffs to the armor as well. Considering the diversity in the arsenal, I highly recommend you try multiple weapons and strategies before settling on one. As you progress through the game, you level up your character and increase the world tier. Think of the world tier as the difficulty in the game. The higher the world tier, the more challenging the enemies, the rarer the loot. This encourages you to play at the highest world tier available, but if you feel a particular encounter is too tough for you, you can always reduce the world tier to reduce the difficulty and get past the challenge. Overall, it's the gameplay more than anything else that kept me hooked and coming back for more. I am about 15 hours into the game and the campaign's end is not yet in sight. I have, however, indulged myself in almost every side quest I have come across. Speaking of graphics, we played the game on a PS5, and the first thing to talk about is the load times. Once you've logged into the servers, all the loadings happen in about 5 seconds, which is excellent. While we are on the subject of servers, know that the launch weekend was a hiccup because of server issues and a lot of gamers weren't able to log in, but it seems like that problem has been fixed since then. The game runs at a solid 60 frames per second on the PS5 with a few minor dips here and there, and it is this fluidity that keeps the frantic action a lot of fun. Of course, the higher frame rate comes at the cost of resolution, and you can make out some lower quality textures here and there, and the characters' facial animations is nothing to write home about, but a lot of the details in the armor and the guns looks quite good and definitely worth checking out. Overall, Outriders is no Ghost of Tsushima, but it still has rich, diverse environments and some enemies that you will encounter, which keeps things fresh.
What are you doing?
I'm putting you back into cryo until MedLab can save your fucking life.
Don't be ridiculous.
The voice acting in the game feels like a cheeky Hollywood flick, but it gets the job done. It's the sound effects and explosions of the guns that will actually keep you hooked, from the thud of a sniper rifle and the battering noise of an assault rifle, or even some of the swishes and swoops of your special abilities. The sound effects in the game are pretty good. The background score is nothing to write home about, but then again, if you're playing with friends online, you are going to hear them chatter more than the sound effects of the game. So, overall, Outriders is a fun ride while it lasts. I wish I could test ride the different classes that the game has to offer before actually selecting one, but that's a minor gripe in an otherwise enjoyable game. Yes, if you will play this game alone, it's a question why the single player campaign needs to be connected online, and if there are server issues or internet issues, you will get logged off. Apart from that, Outriders has combat that's frantic enough to keep you at the edge of your seat, ensuring you feel like you achieve the victory at the end of every battle rather than feeling that it's handed to you on a silver platter. The story and music may not appeal to all, but if you're hooked to the gameplay, you will definitely enjoy this one. Thank you for watching this review. If you have any questions about the game, you can let us know in the comment section below. And for more from the world of gaming and technology, you can subscribe to our channel. We will catch you in another video. It's goodbye for now.